30 years ago, my little startup accomplished something incredible. We developed software which was later licensed by IBM, Google, and Microsoft, and supported over 55 million end users worldwide, including 90% of the Global 500 customer base. The entire trend to cloud email that you've witnessed over the last 3 decades, that all started because of a very boring yet audacious project. I'm here today to tell you how one nerd and several others made that happen. I'm that nerd. Jim Collins coined the term BHAG, which stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals, the types of goals that scare you. Now, many people think that BHAGs require courage, bravery, and risk. But what I've learned that more than anything, they require boring. And by boring, I don't mean easy. I mean repetitive, silent, small steps that are rarely celebrated, but that change everything. It's these small steps that turn the impossible into the inevitable, and they make the results audacious. Now, I didn't invent Audacity, but I sure did inherit it. In 1971, my family fled the former Soviet Union. They left everything behind, except for hope and a toddler in their arms. No money, no English, no certainty about what came next. Where would they work? Where would they live? How would they survive? Their BHAG was to create a better life in a free country. Their method? Using flashcards around the kitchen table to learn English one word at a time. Taking bus rides around the city to look at apartments they couldn't afford. There's nothing inspirational about flashcards at midnight. There's nothing brave about circling classified ads in a paper you can barely read. To accomplish big goals, you don't need certainty. You need boring consistency. By 1996, I was running a small tech startup called Binary Tree. This is where the nerdy stuff comes in. A client approached us and asked us to convert a bunch of email data from one system to a new system. When I ran the opportunity by my partners, they said, "Steven, convert email data? That is the most boring project possible. Plus, we don't know anything about their current system. This is too much for us." I took it on anyway. After 3 months of daily coding and solving dozens of technical hurdles, I finally came up with a prototype that worked. I demonstrated it to the client, and the client said, "That took 5 minutes to run for a single file. We have 20,000 employees. That's 1,667 hours of processing time. Totally unacceptable." The lead executive stood up, stormed out of the conference room, shaking his head. My heart sank. This was our shot in front of the world's second largest bank. So it was back to the drawing board. Mind you, there was no AI, there was no cloud. We just had a lot of caffeine and a lot of conviction. We asked many simple questions. Can we code this part a little faster? Can we optimize this section? Can we maybe run some processes in parallel? Every change and improvement felt small, but they compounded. And along the way, we made sure to celebrate all of our progress instead of continuously agonizing over how much was still left to do. In the end, we built something that scaled globally and was later licensed by industry giants. The fact that most of the world's email is now in the cloud, you're welcome. Or I'm sorry, depending on how you feel about it. Years later, I decided to set another audacious goal, this time far away from the boardroom. As I was approaching my 40th birthday, this couch potato computer nerd decided to run a triathlon. There was only one problem, well, two actually. I couldn't run a complete mile without stopping multiple times, and I didn't know how to swim. But that's the thing about a BHAG. It's supposed to take you out of your comfort zone. That's where true learning begins. So I started small. 2 laps in a community pool, 1 mile around the block, again and again. No glory, just sweat, just showing up. 4 months later, I crossed the finish line at an entry-level sprint distance triathlon. I was exhausted, but ecstatic. Out of the corner of my eye, I see my younger 9-year-old daughter running up to me with her arms outstretched. And I'm like, no, 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 Daddy's gross. Daddy's all sweaty. She's like, Dad, I don't care how gross you are. I'm going to hug you. I'm so proud of you. That day planted a seed. Later on, I learned about another triathlon called Ironman, which starts with a 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and a full 26-mile marathon. And they held their annual world championship in Kona, Hawaii. New BHAG. That's the thing about a big finish. It inspires the next one. It took years of effort. Early mornings, double workouts, endless miles, countless races. My body ached, my calendar complained. But because of the support of my wife and my 2 daughters, I stayed consistent. 11 years and 16 full-distance Ironman races later, I made it to the Big Island to the Ironman World Championship in Kona, what NBC calls the hardest day in sports. By mile 20 of the run, I was in full system shutdown mode. Everything hurt. I was ready to collapse. But I took one boring step forward and then another. 2.5 hours later, my now 20-year-old younger daughter ran and hugged this sweaty finisher at the finish line. My arms went up. My heart was full. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. No, thank you. You're crazy. Ironman, not for me. Very fair. But you have your own version, don't you? Changing careers at 45, getting out of a complicated relationship, finally starting that business or writing that book, or just figuring out how not to faint on stage while public speaking. Different mountains, same fears. What I realize across these moments is that there's a 3-part method to audacity. Number 1, take something really big, something that genuinely scares you, and break it down into pieces so small that the first step feels embarrassingly easy, boring. Number 2, focus on one piece at a time. Forget about the mountain. Climb the next rock. And number 3, celebrate all of your successes and wins along the way, no matter how small and inconsequential they may seem, because momentum is more important than perfection. If you follow this 3-part method, your impossible will become the inevitable. Years later, I faced a different type of impossible. My office was filled with signs of success. I built international teams, developed software used by millions. By every external measure, I'd made it. Yet, I felt hollow. Maybe you're there right now, successful, but yearning for something more. So once again, I got boring about it. I had a single meeting with an executive coach, and we came up with a 1-page outline of what a transition would look like for me. Each step gave me more confidence and more clarity about the next one. 3 years later, I exited that business. Not into certainty, but into possibility. So if you will, for one moment, think about 6 months from now, living inside of your impossible thing. Not because you got a sudden burst of courage, not because you became somebody new, but because boring is what brave looks like up close. Every scientific breakthrough, every social movement, every personal transformation started with somebody daring to name a goal that seemed too big. I'm standing before you today, a product of my family's audacity and the steps they took to build a better life. So I ask you, what is that one big audacious goal that you've quietly dismissed? What if you said it out loud? What is the one small, boring step you can take today towards that goal? Your impossible isn't waiting for perfection. It's waiting for you to show up. You don't need to wait until you're fully ready, because you already are. So write it down, say it out loud, start it. Your impossible thing doesn't need a hero. It needs you. Thank you.